Remove old copper and component. Only cut the tubes when all the refrigerant has been removed from the system. Make cuts as precise as possible and exactly in locations described to ensure the new parts fit properly. Measure and mark the following areas: the liquid line between the condenser coil and receiver in the straight section between the 45-degree bends, the liquid line between the filter dryer and the heat exchanger before the 90-degree bend, the compressor suction line between the heat exchanger and compressor suction port 2 inches away from the 45-degree bend. The liquid line between the heat exchanger and the liquid manifold 1.5 inches before the last 90-degree bend, measured from the end of the straight tube. Using small tubing cutter, cut the tubes at previously marked locations. The liquid line between the condenser coil and receiver in the straight section between the 45-degree bends. The liquid line between the filter dryer and the heat exchanger before the 90-degree bend. Use a ratchet with a small 9/16 socket to remove the nut from the bottom of the receiver. Remove receiver assembly from the unit. The compressor suction line between the heat exchanger and the compressor suction port 2 inches away from the 45-degree bend. The liquid line between heat exchanger and the liquid manifold 1.5 inches before the last 90-degree bend. Note: when debrazing old copper and components, use a low-pressure nitrogen purge to prevent creating internal contaminants or debris. Be sure to leave remaining tubes clean without any residual solder. Residue or joint damage will complicate the repair process. Caution: residual oil in the copper lines can catch fire during brazing. Keep a damp rag on hand to smother any flare-ups. Turn on the oxyacetylene torch to a medium neutral flame. Apply heat evenly at the condenser outlet fitting and use needle nose or channel lock pliers to grip the liquid line and remove it. Apply heat evenly at the T-fitting on the lower heat exchanger suction line before the pressure transducer. Then pull on the heat exchanger assembly. Apply heat evenly at the compressor suction port. Using needle nose or channel lock pliers, pull out the suction line. It is recommended that you use the wire brush to clean the inside of the line while the copper is still warm to remove any residual brazed material or debris. Allow the tubes on the unit to cool completely. Clean the ends of the tubes with an abrasive pad on the heat exchanger assembly tubes, the receiver assembly tubes, the compressor suction port fitting, and the liquid line at the manifold. Be sure to deburr inside diameter of this tube. To prevent debris from entering the tube, purge with nitrogen by placing magnets on the defrost and expansion valves and by blocking the outlet of the condenser and suction tube. Lower suction line coming from the evaporators, condenser outlet fitting. Clean out these areas with a rag after cleaning with an abrasive pad. Dry fit heat exchanger assembly by positioning bushing into the compressor suction port. If the bushing does not fit properly into the compressor suction fitting, use a rubber mallet to drive a swedge tool into 3/4 inch suction port and expand the fitting. To prevent creating internal contaminants or debris, use a nitrogen purge during all brazes and place a service magnet on the defrost valve to ensure gas flows through the entire system. Use a medium neutral flame on the torch to evenly heat the compressor suction port. Grasp the suction tube shock loop and gently push the suction tube bushing into the suction port and ensure adequate insertion. Add a heat shield to both the high side and low side pressure transducers. Do not cover top of the transducers with a damp heat shield, as moisture may damage electrical components. Use a medium neutral flame on the torch to evenly heat the T-fitting on the suction line and push onto the suction manifold tube. Ensure the fitting inserts fully onto the manifold tube so that a good repair braze can be made and the new assembly properly aligns with all other connections. Do not over-insert the tube past the T-fitting side port. Insert the liquid line from the heat exchanger with the swedge to the liquid manifold tube. Note: a stepladder is recommended for this next step. Braze the suction tube bushing to the compressor suction port with Silphos 15% solder. Braze the T-fitting to the suction manifold tube with Silphos 15% solder. Braze the lower liquid tube to the liquid manifold tube with Silphos 15% solder. Inspect these braze joints with an inspection mirror and repair any questionable brazes. Place new receiver assembly on the unit. Dry fit filter dryer and condenser outlet tubes. Apply a heat shield to the filter dryer so it is protected from an open flame. Braze condenser outlet to condenser fitting with the Silphos 15% solder. Braze filter dryer to 3/8 liquid copper tube with Silphos 15% solder. Inspect these braze joints with the inspection mirror and repair any questionable brazes. Once proper fit is achieved, Use a 9/16 socket and ratchet to fasten the nut and secure the receiver to the frame.